Pets Who Thrive Radio with Tammy King.
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm so excited you're joining me today. I have Adam Baker. He is the founder and CEO of Soda Pup, a company that is dedicated to designing and producing some of the most innovative enrichment toys and feeding solutions for dogs. We'll be diving into the story, the science behind enrichment, and how Soda Pup is making a difference for pets and their families. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Tammy.
Absolutely. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your story. How did Soda Pup come to life? What inspired the idea?
You know, I've been fortunate in my career. I actually come from the sporting goods world. I was with Nike for a long time and with Under Armour and then Crocs footwear. And I kind of got burned out on corporate life. And I always wondered, you know, if I had the right stuff to create something of my own, something from nothing. And I had watched the pet industry back in 2008 when we were in like the deepest part of a recession in the United States. And I saw that the pet industry had grown by 4% in 2008. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I started studying pet stores. And of course, I had 3 dogs and 2 cats and 2 kids, 1 wife at the time. And, you know, big dog lover. And so I started walking through pet stores and thought, it's not very interesting. And I wonder if I can create something that's more exciting and more engaging with consumers. And so that's kind of where Soda Pup started, in my basement as a hobby business.
I love that. It sounds like you and I kind of started in the pet industry around the same time, because I was doing all my research in 2008, started the business in 2009. So just like you, we were in the middle of that recession and I thought, what am I doing? I'm starting a business right now. That's awesome. You talked about you'd been in Nike and a couple of other things. What was your role there?
So I was in product management. And in a company like that, and like Under Armour and Crocs, product management is it's kind of the business strategist for a particular category. So at Nike, I worked on a number of businesses. I worked in the outdoor category. I worked on women's tennis, women's running. I worked on the kids business. And so each of those businesses, I was kind of the lead product strategist. I briefed product. I did the market research, you know, figured out what we needed to be making, how it should be priced. And then I would work with a design team and a development team to commercialize products every season.
Wow.
And then at Under Armour, I was the VP of apparel for Under Armour. And at Crocs, I ran product management for Crocs as a VP of product management.
That's so interesting. And I could see how that background could be so applicable in beginning Soda Pup. That's very cool.
Yeah. So, you know, in many ways, I'm running the Nike playbook here. And that starts with an intense focus on the consumer. And so, you know, the biggest insight I had when I was walking through pet stores back in 2008 was that I did not see a connection between the product and the person who is buying the product. I saw functional products that worked well for dogs, but I didn't think that they were very interesting for people. And you only have a couple of seconds to capture somebody's imagination when they're walking through a store.
Sure.
And so if it's the same old, every time you walk in there, there's no compelling reason to buy. Whereas in the apparel and footwear business that I came from, I mean, we were forming new collections all the time, and it's that newness that creates excitement and impulse buying. And
Absolutely.
so that's what that's what I've tried to do, is focus on our consumer, who in our case it's, you know, predominantly women, because they are the ones that are doing most of the shopping for their family, including their dogs. And so if you think about who you're making the product for, who's making the purchasing decision, then the next step is to say, okay, well, what could we do that would capture her imagination or create an emotional connection or catch her eye through color and design? And so that's really informed the types of designs that we do and the color palette that we choose.
Sure. Well, you do have so many interesting products, and I do want to get into that, but that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, why Soda Pup? Where'd that come from?
So the first toy that we made was a soda can. And it's not actually my design. It's a design that was developed by the factory that I was using, which happens to be across the street. And he had developed this product. He was producing a lot of products for Kong at the time. And he had proposed this product to Kong, and they weren't interested. And then ultimately, he and Kong stopped working together, just when I showed up. And I'm going to just grab this product.
Of course.
It's called the Can Toy, and it looks like a soda can.
I bought this toy years and years ago.
Yeah. So just like the Kong Classic, it's a durable rubber toy made in the USA. You can fill it with treats. You can fill it with wet food and freeze it. So it works the same way. It's just in the shape of a soda can. And so, that factory owner actually already had the molds. And so I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. But I didn't want to call the company Can Toy. He owns that trademark, by the way. Mm. And so I thought, well, what would be fun and cute? And so instead of Soda Pop, it was Soda Pup.
Love it.
I grabbed the trademark. Nobody was using it. And it's worked out really well because it's just kind of a catchy name. People just get a kick out of the name, even if they don't know why we're called Soda Pup or, where the name came from.
Right.
And but I think it captures the essence of who we are. Mm-hmm. We want to be playful. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's a playful name. And then with our logo, you can see here, we did the fizz. It's kind of a paw, but it's also fizz coming off like the effervescent.
A play on the pop, the soda, I mean. Yes.
So that was the origin of the logo as well.
That's awesome. Good. So a lot of your toys, they focus on enrichment. Can you talk a little bit about why that is so important for our pets?
Yeah. Dogs have natural foraging instincts, right? They've evolved to forage, to survive. And so if you can give your dog a mental challenge to get at their food, it's actually gratifying for them. It makes them happier. And it uses their brains, and it actually wears them out, because mental energy is just as important as physical exercise for a dog.
Yes.
The other benefit, though, is digestive. So, it's really actually pretty unnatural to feed a dog in a dog bowl, because there's no foraging at all. And so many dogs tend to eat way too fast. And so they're not producing enough saliva to go with the amount of food that they're eating. And then that leads to them being gassy and, digestive problems.
Sure.
So if you can slow them down, not only is it good for their brain, but it's better for their gut as well, because they're producing more saliva with the amount of food that they're eating. And so there are all these benefits. And the cool thing about enrichment is that it's good to, dogs are smart, so they can figure things out. And so it's good to rotate different challenges so that your dog is always having to do something new. And so in terms of a business, whereas a pet store historically might be selling a stainless steel dog bowl to a new dog owner, that's the only bowl that dog owner is ever going to buy. And it's not very good for their dog. But if you sell slow feeder dog bowls in a range of different designs, then that same consumer may come back and buy multiple bowls so that they can give their dog a different challenge. And so what we're doing is taking these slow-moving categories and accelerating them by giving people a reason to come back and buy that product type again and again. And so we just do that through design. Now, I told you I came from the apparel and footwear industry. And so I think of our lick mats and our dog bowls kind of like a t-shirt table in a sporting goods store. Every season, Nike would have graphic t-shirts, and they're folded on a table, and consumers come in and they're like, oh, that's so cool, I'm going to buy that t-shirt. Or I like these 2 t-shirts, I'm going to buy 2 t-shirts. Not because they need another t-shirt, just because they like the graphic.
Sure.
And so in a way, what I'm doing is creating a fashion cadence to an industry where that hasn't existed before. And indeed, people collect our different designs. I mean, I have some people that have collected every lick mat we've done, and you can see we got a lot of lick mats.
That's crazy. I love that.
And so it's really fun. It's fun for them, and it's fun for us, and my brain's exploding with other ideas. What we could do. Sorry about the honking. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can't. So that's good. Yes.
Good.
So you have kind of a line of different toys and feeders. So can you walk us through some of the different lines that you carry?
Sure. So first of all, I'll tell you, because I'm a product geek, what I wanted to do was put structure to what we were doing. And so we've created a vocabulary of different types of enrichment products. And so, for example, sorry, I keep walking on. So we make this postcard, and it explains the different things that we make.
Nice.
And it's all around enrichment. So, for example, we call a slow feeder bowl, a deep slow feeder bowl like this, we call this an E-bowl. The E is for enrichment. And so we have a little E-bowl logo there on the package. So we have an E-bowl. We also have E-trays. Now, an E-tray is really a dog bowl, except that it's shell. So, for example, a product like our mandala, it's still a slow feeder bowl. It's shallow. This is for flat-nosed breeds. It's for smaller dogs. Now, what other people do for small dogs, they make a smaller bowl, smaller diameter. But if you're trying to create enrichment, then you don't want a smaller diameter. You just need a shallower bowl with more places to put the food so that they can forage. So that's an E-tray.
So that would be good for like Frenchies, Bulldogs, some of those. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I love that. Yeah.
Because some of our bowls are quite difficult, and the only way to get the food is with their tongue. They can't actually get their nose down into it. A lot of slow feeder bowls made by our competitors, not to name names, but they don't actually slow the dog down. So it's kind of a cool concept, but they functionally, they're not really that good. And so when we started developing these products, we were like, okay, we really need to make these things more difficult. So that's an E-tray and an E-bowl. We also have E-dispensers. The can toy is an example of that. It's an enrichment dispenser. So it's a treat dispenser. We've got what's called an E-cup. This is one of my favorite products. It's our honey pot. Comes in 2 sizes. And the cool thing about that is you can put broth in there. You can put raw things that might leak and create a mess. You can put it in there, pop it in the freezer. It's not going to tip over. And it's basically like a mini slow feeder bowl. And the dog has to work to get that out. So we have E-dispensers. We have nylon toys that we call E-chews. So the thing about our nylon toys is that most of them have an enrichment capability. So, we compete against brands like Benebone and Nylabone, and they make durable nylon bones that dogs chew on. When we moved into the nylon toy category, I thought, well, what could we do that's consistent with what we stand for as a brand and that's different from our competitors? So we have things like, this is our new waffle iron that'll be coming out in probably 3 or 4 weeks.
That's so fun.
We have other really cool designs like... this is one of my favorites. This is a turtle.
Oh, nice.
And it's made out of nylon. It's super durable, and you can put food in it. And so imagine if you have a dog with separation anxiety, you can't leave them with a lick mat because it'll get destroyed. It's not made from a material that can withstand chewing. So it's not safe for that. But you could leave them with this because you can. So anyway, we've created this architecture. We also have, of course, a wide range of lick mats. This is a new one.
Cute.
It's called Citrus.
Is that a lemon?
It's actually, we did it in green, so we're calling it limes. The name of the mat is Citrus, but I started with limes because I like margaritas. So we may add orange, we might add yellow in the future, but we started with my favorite.
Yes.
We have E-sticks. This is a totally new product. It is a target stick for training. You can smear food on it.
Nice.
And use it as a training tool. So what makes us unique is that we make lots of different product types, but they all come under this umbrella of food-based enrichment. And the reason why that's so important is because consumer behavior has changed dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years, right? There's this humanization of pets. We're treating them like family members. Part of that is diets are improving. People are, feeding their dogs very differently than they used to. And so we're kind of riding that healthy feeding trend with food adjacent types of products.
I love that. And I love that you have also thought about different types of breeds, the way their face is shaped, the little bowls. That is so clever. And the can. I love all those things. So how are some of the things that, some of those unique products, where do they come from? Like, you just think through them and think this will be cool?
Well, a lot of them are autobiographical. For example, I like margaritas, so I did.
Gotcha. Yes.
So many of our products are in some way autobiographical. A lot of them are nature inspired, just because I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yes.
And, we live in beautiful Colorado, and I love the outdoors and doing adventures in the outdoors. So it speaks to me personally. I mean, it all just kind of comes out of my head. I don't always know where the ideas come from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, there's nothing more fun than taking an idea and bringing it to life.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's really fun.
So,
and then you have this legacy of, when I'm dead and gone, some of these products will still be sold.
Of course. Yes.
So it's pretty fun that way.
Of course, yes. And to see how the dogs and how they respond to it and how much they love it. And so tell me a little bit about your manufacturing process, because I love this about your brand.
Well, so we produce everything in the U.S., there are many, many benefits to producing in the U.S., and there are some challenges. So the biggest challenge is, everything we make is made with a mold, a steel mold. And the challenge of U.S. manufacturing is that molds are very expensive. So you have to find ways to overcome those mold costs, because it can be, I'm getting at least $1 million worth of molds right now.
Oh gosh.
From the time that we've been in business. And different products cost more to make than others. Like natural rubber is by far the most expensive. And that has to do with how long the product has to cure in the machine. So it's only opening like 4 times an hour. So you have to build really big molds that have multiple toys in it, so that each time it opens, you're getting enough to offset your labor cost and keeping the price reasonable.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest challenge. But the benefits of producing in the U.S. is that once you've got the mold, injection molding is largely automated, where you could have, a machine operator managing a couple of different machines simultaneously. So it's cost effective, it's labor effective which makes it possible in the US. It's also great because, as you can see behind me, we have a lot of products. But because I produce in the US, I have relatively short lead times. And so whereas many of my competitors are, buying containers of products that are, shipping across the Pacific Ocean for 30 days and then import. And during the pandemic, there were all these logistics problems, and now there's tariffs. And I don't have any of that. I don't have any of that. I literally sent a purchase order to my supplier, most of whom are friends. Most of my suppliers I've got relationships with, and, I can get it fulfilled in 2 or 3 weeks. So what that allows me to do is carry a very broad product portfolio, but I can be relatively shallow on inventory. Most of my competitors have a very narrow product portfolio, and they're very deep on inventory. Being deep on inventory is always risky, because if the inventory doesn't move, then you have to, close it out, and you have to sell it someplace where you don't want to sell it, and you have to sell it for a loss, and nobody wants to do that. So this is a very different way of doing business. And what it allows me to do is, as I said, I can introduce a fashion cadence into what we do. And I can just keep dripping out new designs to keep people excited about the brand and what we're doing.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, just there's so many toys out there and very few are truly made and manufactured in the US. And that is so important. Yeah.
It's also, a little bit of buyer beware, because not all products are alike, or not all materials are alike, right? So we produce, all of our materials are FDA compliant. All of our materials are produced in the US. Natural rubber would be the only exception, because natural rubber comes from rubber trees. Rubber trees grow in equatorial climates, so you can't actually grow rubber in the US. But what you do is you import the raw material and then you compound your rubber in the US. And so the biggest difference, if you bought a private label rubber toy from a large pet retailer in the United States, chances are it's made in China or probably now Vietnam, because everyone's moving their production to Vietnam because they have more favorable tariffs. But in any case, what they're doing is they're putting a lot of clay in the rubber compound. And rubber is what's called a cross-linked polymer. In the press, under high heat and pressure in the injection molding process, the molecules are going from individual molecules to cross-linked molecules. And that gives rubber really high tear strength. But if you introduce a lot of clay into that compound, well, then there's less cross-linking.
Gotcha.
So even though it's a rubber toy and it feels really heavy and it feels durable, it doesn't have the tear strength. So what we've done in the US is we've engineered a rubber compound it's designed for high tear strength. And so we don't have a lot of cheap fillers in it. It makes our products a little bit more expensive, but they last a lot longer.
That's important, especially for those.
Get what you paid for.
Yeah. And those people that come in the store and what will my dog not chew up? I mean, obviously anything can be destructible, but you want it to last a little longer. So that's important. Yeah. So do you have it?
There are some, I think people have this notion that the harder a toy is, the more durable it is. But in some ways, and in some cases that is true, but in other cases it's not. It's almost counterintuitive. Like we're introducing squeaker balls and just a new fetch ball, and it's made out of a really soft rubber compound. And what's interesting about it is because it compresses much more easily than most rubber in the market, the dog is getting the gratification of chewing the toy without destroying it. Whereas if you're using a really hard rubber compound, the dog can actually get a purchase on it and start to tear bits off.
Sure.
So harder is not always better.
Yeah. Not always the most durable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a certain or like a favorite category or a favorite toy that you tend to go to, or it just kind of depends on the dog?
Usually my favorite is the most recent design.
Yes.
I know I do have a couple of favorites. I mean, first of all, I have to say I've really loved doing the lick mats because, whereas most of our competitors will do some sort of basic pattern like squares or nubs, I do treat it like a graphic t-shirt. So I'm trying to create some sort of graphic that tells a story so that people can relate to. That's where I think it's important to create an emotional connection. And so, we have lick mats. As I said, many things are autobiographical. So my first career was in the Coast Guard. I was an officer in the Coast Guard. And so I've got lick mats that are ocean themed. I've got a lighthouse lick mat. I've got a whale lick mat. I've got crashing wave dog bowls, things like that.
That's
so
awesome.
Those are really fun. But my two favorites actually are the honey pots. And so the story behind the honey pot is that I wanted to do a cup-like product. And you've probably seen people on Instagram posts or whatever of people taking their dogs to Starbucks and they get a cappuccino, which is it's a cup filled with whipped cream. And I thought, just a cup. What if I could make a really cute cup that was durable and could be used and frozen? And so that's where the idea came from. And then because I think that we treat our dogs as if they're our children, I started thinking about children's stories. And that led me to Winnie the Pooh,
yes.
Thousand Acre Wood,
yes.
and ultimately to the honey pot.
I love it.
Now, what's interesting is I didn't really think too much about it. I mean, we wanted to make it cute. It's got honey dripping over the sides.
Very cute, yes.
But it's our number one SKU in the whole line.
Wow. Okay.
That surprises me. I mean, I wouldn't have picked it necessarily as the biggest winner, but it's very, very popular. And then we just introduced these lick sticks. It's also a beehive.
I was going to say, yeah, that looks like one of those honey that you get out of the jar.
Yeah. So the other thing that we do, because I'm a product and merchandising geek, is we have built product stories across product types. So, for example, we have a honeycomb bowl. We have a honeycomb lick mat. We have a honey bear treat dispenser. We have the honey pot. We have a nylon toy that looks like the wooden honey dipping sticks for serving honey. And so if you're a small independent retailer and you have lots of flexibility in terms of how you merchandise product in your store, you can do these really beautiful displays with all these designs that are all different product types and they do different things. They all fit together from a story perspective. And so that's fun for me to thread these stories across the different product types.
I love it. You're so creative with all these different products that you've created. I love it. And that so much thought goes into it. And I'm sure,
at the end of the day, branding is about storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And,
that's right.
when I set out to do this business, I had a couple of big questions. Mm-hmm. The first question was, do I have the right stuff? Just the basic, like I'd worked for great entrepreneurs. I'd been a part of their success. Mm-hmm. But I wondered if I could create magic, like literally create something from nothing in an industry where I have no contacts, where I have no experience. Mm-hmm. But if I could apply the principles that I had learned throughout my career from these other great companies that I worked with, could I apply this type of thinking in the pet space where it didn't appear to be? And so that's been really fun. It's been a bit of a kind of an intellectual or academic exercise for me to see if we could do it.
Absolutely.
On top of just the daily challenges of making payroll and selling enough to keep the doors open, and
of course,
all the craziness of running a small business. But,
of course, yeah. No, that's awesome. One thing I wanted to mention is you have an amazing array of recipes on your website. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, well, and those aren't ours. Those are from other people. So
okay.
One of the things that really surprised us was back in 2020 when we did our first lick round. It hasn't been that long. It's only been 5 years.
Oh, wow.
We noticed that people were decorating our products.
Decorating. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I encourage you to go to our Instagram feed. It's at Soda Pup Dog Toys. And you will see that people they're decorating. I don't know how else to put it, but they're decorating it partly because of the way that we design the product. Mm-hmm. And so most of our designs have self-contained shapes. Mm-hmm. So if I mixed Greek yogurt with spirulina, I could put some in that shape and it'll be held in that shape. And in that way, I can do color by numbers with different colors or different foods. And so kind of the light bulb went on. It was like, holy cow, I had no idea. It's like there's a bunch of moms out there who are frustrated cake decorators. They can't keep making cupcakes for their kids. Mm-hmm. So how else can they express their love for their dog? And this is one of the ways they do it. And it's a creative outlet for them. And so we have leaned heavily into that phenomena. Mm-hmm. Practically all of our bowls, all of our lick mats have this ability or have this feature of self-contained shapes that can be filled in. We were on the cover of Pet Age magazine.
Look at that. Yes.
So this is our honeycomb bowl. And this is a photo that was actually taken by somebody in Australia, and she posted it on Instagram.
Wow.
And
we've got a quail egg. You've got everything that you can imagine in there. Yeah.
And you can see 20 years ago, people just didn't feed their dogs like that.
It's true. Yeah.
And so there's this big trend happening, and we're designing these food-based enrichment products to ride on the coattails of that trend. And then we discovered that there are these crazy creative people out there that are doing this. And it's so much so that we started our own podcast. It's called the Soda Pup Enrichment Lab. And the original intent of the Soda Pup Enrichment Lab was just to interview and meet all these people that were posting on Instagram.
I love it.
I want to know who these people are,
Yeah.
And it's been a fascinating journey. My wife, Chris, is the host. And, we're on YouTube and all major streaming platforms. It's called Soda Pup Enrichment Lab. And you get to meet some of these people and see, because there's a video component to the podcast, and you can see their creations. It's stunning.
That is, I know. So I was looking through the pictures, and there was one, it was the corn cob and all of the things that were on top of it. And then there was another one with the soda can. I mean, I'm amazed at what people come up with.
Yeah. And I mean, I was dumbfounded when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, this is really interesting. So if I can keep creating new things, it's like dancing with your consumer.
Exactly.
Right? You put it out into the universe and see what people do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love
it's
it.
so much fun to see how people embrace what you're doing, and then they add their own creativity to it. It's just
it's going to be so rewarding.
So much more than just selling dog bowls.
Yeah.
And I said there were a couple of challenges in my mind when I started this business. So the second one was not only, can I do this, but the second question was, can I get people to fall in love with a pet supply brand? Right? Most people can't even name pet supply brand.
Sure.
Except maybe Kong, because it's been around for 40 years. And so I really set out to be different, behave differently, create different kinds of products, because ultimately that's what I'm trying to do, is to get people to fall in love with our products and with us as a brand and the things that we stand for. And because if you can do those things right, then, the money will follow. The business will grow.
Exactly. And clearly you're doing that. I mean, you've got all these people that are showing these amazing displays of all the things that they're putting in their bowl and their lick mat. I love it. I love that.
What's so lovely about it is that to me, it feels less transactional and more like a community. We are a part of this community. The podcast is a way of us celebrating other people in the community and hopefully creating a body of work that is educational for other people that want to learn about enrichment. And the podcast isn't just food-based enrichment. We have dog trainers and people that do other kinds of enrichment for dogs. So then you just meet a lot of really interesting people. So.
Yeah, I bet so. Yeah. So what do you think, and obviously there's so much, but if you were to say, okay, this is what makes us so different from what's out there, what would you say it is?
I think it just comes down to the designs themselves. It's, and the designs speak for themselves. They connect with people each in their own way.
The storytelling, the USA made, all of that. I think that's wonderful. Yeah.
And, those ideas exist in other industries, in lifestyle brands. Many are footwear and apparel oriented, but it's pretty unusual in the pet space. And so I think that's what makes us unique inside the pet industry.
Sure. So what else would you like the listeners to know about your brand, your products, anything that we haven't touched on today?
No, I don't know if there's anything. The biggest issue as a small brand with limited resources, and I put pretty much all of our money back into new product development, so I'm not spending a lot of money on marketing and other things. It's just getting the word out there, getting the visibility out there. Social media has been very important for us just because it's very visually driven, so it's friendly to the types of products that we make, because we're a very visual brand.
Absolutely, yes.
But we're small but mighty. We make beautiful, well-made products. Everything's FDA compliant. It's all made in the U.S. We're a family business.
Yeah.
We're pretty old-fashioned. I think when it comes right down to it, we just want to make great products that people can fall in love with, that work well for them.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And you are the heart and soul behind so much. I mean, it's just like you've got your finger on every single thing. Your fingerprint is on every single piece of toy, lick mat, bowl, you name it. It's so cool.
That's the nature of small business.
Absolutely.
Right? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Well, wonderful. So how can people find you? Tell the audience how people can find you if they want to learn more.
Well, we sell to a lot of independent pet specialty retailers. So obviously not all. There's plenty of room for growth there. But we are in many. So you might find us there. You can also find us online at sodapup.com. We have a big line. It's like 185 SKUs. So no retailer is carrying everything that we offer. So you can find us online. We're on, major marketplace platforms like Amazon.com, Chewy.com, a little bit on Walmart.com. Yeah, those are the main ways.
Wonderful. And you'll be seeing those at my store, Bark Avenue in Colleyville, Texas. Yes, I love the brand. As we've been coming up to this interview, I've been doing more and more research on it, and I am absolutely in love with it. So we're definitely going to be carrying it in my store as well.
Well, thanks so much. So as a retailer, let me just reassure you that we maintain full price on all of the online platforms.
That is
I just mentioned Chewy and Amazon and Walmart.com. Yes. We're at full price all the time.
Very good. Very good.
So specifically so we don't undermine our retail partners.
Very much appreciated.
And that's also true on our own website. We don't discount on our site.
Okay.
Unless it's a closeout SKU. We discount closeout SKUs, but
that's so awesome. I think that is it for today. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to all of you, take a minute to find out how much your dogs are going to love those Soda Pup toys.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So,
absolutely. It's your baby. Absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks again for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Sure thing.